Good morning, Ultra Engineers. Today we have another exciting episode of Weekend Workshop where we talk about progress of Leadworks Game Engine from the last week and discuss upcoming plans. Leadworks is currently available in early access on our website and on Steam. You can get it now. It seemed like that this is the going to be the last beta before the full release, so we're getting pretty close to the finish line here. This is just a screenshot I made last week, just using the standard features. It looks really fantastic, and it got me thinking about some areas of future research that I'll talk on briefly tomorrow later. Here's another scene I put together, just kit bashing, just some free stuff that you can download right from inside the editor. Most of this is available right now, and the rest will be here soon. Yeah, as soon as I saw this, I started walking around and started doing like Monty Python voices, like, "Oh, sir, what are you doing today?" "Oh, I'm here selling me apples." "You don't got any apples, you silly bastard." Um, and like other people were making fun, making like comments about Monty Python because he does kind of look like the Black Knight. If you've seen that. "I, as the King of Britons, command you to stand aside. I move for no man." Got some really very, very high quality rocks. These are really, really good. They were about 125,000 polygons each, and I reduced them each down to 30,000 for the maximum resolution. They've got 4K texture maps, and then I added additional LODs going all the way down to like 700 polygons. These are really, really good, really high quality rocks. There's 7 of these. We've got another 6. No, I've got another about 15 on the way, like this. And these are really, really good for. They're not just like small rocks. They're like big, massive boulders. So you can use these to make canyons out of, or you could blow them up even bigger and make them like a background object. But these are all free, available right now. I definitely recommend you grab those.
You think 4K is an appropriate size for these models?
Yeah, because they're big. They're very big. So 4K is about perfect. I found a good pine tree, a very good a good set of pine trees, and these are really hard to find because um, if you look at most people make their trees see through. Like you can't really make a forest out of them because the whole tree is basically transparent, like you can see right through it. And these trees have very, very, very good coverage. They're not super high poly. I think they're about 6,000 polygons um, at the base resolution. So they have good detail if you go up close to them, but they're not too high detail. And yet they still manage to provide better coverage than some other trees that are like a million polygons. So I was very happy to find these because this kind of tree is the meat on the sandwich of your game level. So because you can use this to just fill up the background with a very dense forest and just cover the background. Um, you can put some thinner trees in the foreground if you want, but this really does a good job of just completely filling the level with trees to where you can't even see what's going on. So yeah, I mean this stuff looks like this looks about the same as like Kingdom Come, Deliverance 2, and that kind of stuff. Really, really nice quality stuff. Here I actually applied, I felt that the grass, which is also available, the grass was quite yellow and the trees were quite green. And I just desaturated
Yeah.
both those materials to about 60%. And then that just got rid of that indie, garish, color clashing oversaturation that you see in so many indie game screenshots.
Yeah, I was gonna say those trees were very green. Pine trees are not that green.
Yeah. Yeah, these are pretty green, and you might want to desaturate them a little bit, but that's easy. You just open up the material, set the saturation level, and it just calculates that in the shader. So, and it's better to do that in the material than to do it in the texture, because you can always adjust it later if you want to make it a little bit more
Right.
saturated.
Yeah,
Um,
that feature saved me with the FPS demo.
yeah, so this like that actually like that basically just setting those two materials to 60% saturation, just it instantly made the screenshot look like pretty much like a AAA game. Let's see, we've got a variety of other free 3D models, 21 assets this week. And what I'm finding is it's not that hard to focus to fill up the system with good content, because 99, I'd say like more than 99% of everything on Sketchfab, everything on Fab, everything in every asset store or 3D model um, website, 99% of everything, probably 99.9% of everything is garbage, is unusable garbage. So if I just skip all the unusable garbage and just put the good things, put the good models in, then you've got everything, and you've got everything that's good, and you don't have to sort through a lot of garbage. I've been sifting through so many like thousands of models, and some of this stuff is very, very hard to find. So for like every good pine tree, the one good set of pine trees I found, there were probably 1,000 that were just unusable, uh, for various reasons.
Mhm.
So
And I like that now you don't have to do the importing yourself. You can just download and
yeah,
go.
and you also don't have to. You don't even have to like look through all of the all of the stuff. So um,
Do the LEDs, do the shape, the collision mesh, and that's the most time consuming thing. Compile, compress the textures, and
yeah, I mean it's pretty. There's a well, I mean the whole process is pretty streamlined. I mean it does
it's streamlined. But
it takes a
I was
few
just gonna,
minutes, but it does. I spend a lot more time looking for suitable models than I have to spend preparing them. Like I've got the methods down pretty to where preparing them, like once I actually find what I want to use, preparing it only takes a few minutes. Still takes a few minutes usually to do everything I want, but that process is pretty streamlined. But it's more just like finding something that isn't garbage, or sometimes it looks good in a thumbnail, and then you load it up, and either it's a million polygons or it's two polygons, and you were just looking at like a rendered
or,
billboard of something.
or my favorite is like on this just like missing parts of the model and there's gaps in the model, and you're like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, or a lot of times like 3D scanned. Most 3D scanned content is horrible. These are 3D scanned and they look great. The artist here, like, there's only a few people who know what they're doing, and this is I found one person of all the just unusable garbage on Sketchfab. I found the one person who knows what he's doing, and he's not the top rated. Like, these people are not the top rated artists. So the filtering system is not bringing the best stuff to the top. It's just something I had to it's just something I had to hunt down and
Yeah.
find those. But now that I've done that work, all this stuff is available to you for free right now. You can get it in the editor. Just click at the install button, and it'll automatically download and install it into your project. So that's really great to have.
Very
And
cool.
I try to focus on number one, outdoors stuff, because that's something that pretty much everybody needs. And I think number two would be medieval stuff, because it's actually like I actually think medieval is a very good theme for indie developers to pursue, um, because it's actually like really easy to make something that looks AAA with this theme, because the materials are all stone, wood, some metals, fabric. Uh, the scenery is pretty easy to make. Like, once you have all the outdoor scenes, then you just add like a stone bridge or something, and it looks fantastic. Um, Castles are easy to make with our level design tools, and I see a lot of pretty much all the castles I see have like really super sharp edges, which look extremely unnatural. But with our bevel tools in the brush in the level editing, the bevel tools will make those sharp edges very like rounded, which will make it look fantastic. And then the really strong support we have for tessellation will work great with castles. Um, so I think actually I think medieval is something indie developers can pursue very easily, and it's easy to make something that looks like super triple A without a lot of effort. Much easier than some other genres that you could pursue. Um,
Right. And then if there's like anything that doesn't make sense, you could just say it's magic.
yeah, it's a wizard. A wizard came by and removed that missing polygon.
Well, like just a quick tangent. I actually was thinking about Cyclone being like a like in a castle or something, and because I didn't have like access to all those castle assets and they want to make them, I went what I went with. But yeah, what the energy ball was actually supposed to be like a fire orb that just floats, and you're supposed to like light torches with it with the cyclones. But that was like the original idea of that.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, but I didn't have access to it like you guys do now. So
The portal,
all this.
Dark Ages.
Yeah, I mean it was a cool idea, but yeah, that was like the thing because I didn't know how to explain placing cyclones in real space, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm happy with our shipped, but now you guys can make that vision if you wanted to.
Okay, so last week, the first thing I did, I spent a couple of days adding an integrated video system, so we can play tutorial videos right in the editor, that was kind of my goal. And the reason for doing that is just to make sure that people find the videos. Some people were telling me that they had never seen these videos before, even though they've been up for like a year on our YouTube channel. So just uploading a bunch of tutorials on YouTube, that's not going to do it. The videos need to be front and center, and it opens the window by default. It shows the videos. Um, I think if I don't do that, then I think probably 95% of people will never know that they exist, no matter what I do. Um, so yeah, the goal here is to make sure that people find the right videos instead of just going to YouTube and searching for something and getting sent to the wrong location or getting distracted because there's a picture of a funny animal, doing something cute. Um, yeah, so the videos, that's kind of the goal of what I want the final how I want to present information to the user. We can talk more about that in a minute. I also added a material refraction model, two optional refraction models. You've got one that's good for large flat surfaces like water, and you've got another that's good for like a curved object that's kind of more of an object that's where the whole thing fits on the screen at once. Um, and the reason this is necessary is because of a common artifact that can occur if the realistic when the realistic refraction model is used, it bends light according to the angle of the surface relative to the camera, and that can cause a lot of off-screen. That can cause the refraction ray to go off-screen to where there's no information. And so there's a simpler refraction model that I recommend using with water and other large flat surfaces. And what that does is it just takes the normal map and it just uses that as an offset for the texture lookup instead of doing like a realistic ray. So one will look good, one will look better with large flat surfaces, and the other will look better with like a small object in the center of the screen. I added a separate material specular weight setting. The Lambertian shader family that was added, it was only added in the beta. It never got released into the full release. This replaces that, so the Lambertian shader family will not be supported going forward. There's just a separate specular weight setting that you can use to control uh, how much specular reflection there is in the material, and this can be really good for things like tree branches, like leaf planes, where you don't where having specular reflection looks really unnatural because it makes the plane nature of the surface look very apparent. So you can just use that to disable it. I also fixed 7 bugs, and of course, 21 new free assets were released. The MP4 video example is available in the forum, in the programming forum. I just uploaded my code there. So this allows you to play a video in a window. So you can use this for like an intro video if you have one. Um, and that's using the low level Windows, what is it, Windows Microsoft Media Foundation code, something like that. I just decided to make that available to you in case you need it because it was really hard to find a working example. Um,
So that's so you're saying you said intro video, but just to confirm that it doesn't work within the frame buffer, correct?
it's playing it on it takes the window handle and it plays it on the window handle. So you would probably do this before you even create a frame buffer, maybe. I haven't tried doing, or maybe before you start rendering at least. Probably.
Okay. No, no, because you we talked about like people want to do intro videos, and you were saying, well, no one has a video, but I have videos, tutorial videos, and right now drawing videos to the windows, like to the normal window, is more important than drawing it into the frame buffer for games.
Yeah. Well, you can
So,
use that to do this. Um, so before we go forward, do we have any questions about any of that?
so with models that are like bundles, like all that, those are all individual. Top right. Um, those are all separated. You actually did separate all the models and build all the shapes individually, correct? Because I know a lot of Sketchfab models, they have a bunch of great models, but they're just one model.
Yeah. Actually, what I did in some cases, like with the tree, I uploaded a script in the add-ons forum, and the script will just load a model, and then it will take all the children and reposition them at the origin, and then save each child as a separate model file. That was what I did with these trees because these have like 3 different trees with three or four LODs each. That's a really easy way to extract all the limbs
Okay.
from a single file. And that's available in the
Programming.
add-ons forum right now. It's just a line of code that you paste into the console in it, and it's just like an instant tool that you can run anytime you need.
I would have made it like a little button, but whatever. It works.
Well,
It is what it is.
it's usually good to go through like several, like use something for a while before you start trying to polish it, the experience. Like
Right.
just use it for a while first, and then you can figure out what you actually need. Um,
Also, the specular stuff, we were talking about importing or converting the blade font stuff into PBR. I went through experimentation with that with my materials, and I just want so you could have a specular number, but is there support or plans for a specular map?
well, we've always supported the specular gloss. There's a shader family for specular gloss materials that's been supported since for I don't know.
Yeah, but isn't that like but that's not the same as it was in Lidworks, correct? That's like a different form of PBR, correct?
It's I mean it's still using PBR, but it should work with if you have a specular map with so the specular color goes in the RGB channels, and then the gloss factor goes in the alpha channel of the texture.
I'm not familiar with specular gloss stuff, so I just use PBR and adjust the PBR settings and to get the look I want, but my metal materials do look very off. So maybe I might consider looking into specular gloss.
I would not use spec. I mean, you would. I would only use specular gloss if you have art that was made with that workflow. If you're making something with
Right.
PBR, then yeah, PBR is like if you're starting something new, like do it with PBR for sure.
Oh well,
Yeah.
I have all these materials that just have a diffuser or a normal map and maybe a specular.
One
And
thing about this PBR and specular stuff. PBR is only good if you do something like real world stuff. But if you plan to do comic stuff, then you might need to go to the old shading stuff because it looks not that good to do it with PBR.
yeah, I have a friend who did a lot of Borderlands inspired stuff, and he said they said they um really liked going to specular gloss stuff with that kind of art style. So
Okay, well you have both options
Still,
available.
are still many objects, for example, in Mixamo, all the comic assets are not using PBR. They use the old Lambertian shader stuff.
Okay, that's good to know.
yeah, like I have the Cyclone stuff I'm porting in, and um, and they have some of them have a roughness map because Lever supported roughness maps, so it's a little bit difficult to figure out like how that works, like with the PPR stuff because so I have an add-on that takes a specular and makes a roughness metal map based on the specular. And it's in the form. It just takes the image, swaps the colors, and packs them into uh, the channel packer, and then you can adjust the metalness and roughness to get the exact look you want. And that's how I'm doing, importing, converting my Legworks materials into PPR materials, and it works. It works great for concrete and such, but it doesn't really work great for like things that are supposed to be metal. So
Yeah, for good metals, you definitely need PBR for that. Um,
well, I just want it to look similar or close as it did in Legworks 4. That's pretty much my goal.
okay.
But
Let's see. Yeah, so again, I think my goal here is like number one is outdoor scenery. So that means trees, plants, rocks. I think kind of an iterative approach is working pretty well, where we just upload the best thing we can find, and then that becomes the baseline of what we have available for free. And then if we find something better than that, then we can upload that, and that becomes the new baseline. But just like getting something in the system and making it available to everyone for free, and then using it to create things, and then and then over time you can figure out like how can it be improved, and you can keep an eye out for better and better content. Um, but I feel we have a pretty good selection of like your basic outdoor scenery. So there's definitely enough there that I think people can start downloading that and using it to make things. And then second, I'd say medieval objects. I can't really find any good like free castle or medieval like village buildings, like high quality stuff. I it's pretty hard to find that stuff for free. I think you can model a lot of that with our level design tools, but that's something else that I'm on the lookout for it if it exists. I'll probably focus more on like small medieval props because those are easier to locate. Um,
did you? I found a good well model a while back that would be perfect in this setting.
Upload it. Well,
Okay,
well, well.
I got, yeah.
Um, we also need a dam model, and then we need to have.
Well,
And
it's
then I
like,
will say, well, dam,
yeah. Well, it's a fishing well, so.
a fishing well.
Well, it's like one of those wells with like the bucket and it's one of the circle ones. I gotta find it. I have a save
Like
a
it has
voice
fish.
save
Like you
somewhere.
fish, you get catch fish
No,
in it.
it's no, it's like it's no, it's the ones where you put the bucket in, you have to like put you turn the bucket down, and then the bucket goes in the water, fishes the water out of the fishes the water out with the bucket, and then you pull the bucket back out. It's one of those wells.
Cool. I didn't know there was other kinds.
Uh, this, yeah, don't ask how much like kinds of like.
How many kinds of wells are there?
Well, they're all like different. There's like they're all like different styles of wells.
All right. Well,
and
we have 0 wells right now, so if we get a fishing well, that'll be a.
well, I call it a fishing well because you're fishing the water.
Oh, I thought you meant there
with
was
the
actually
bucket.
fish in it that you
Well,
catch.
I mean, if there's fish and stuff in it, then that's kind of a problem because that's your drinking water. But whatever.
All right. Um, yeah. So, and I'd say modern day kind of stuff is a distant third, but that's. I uploaded the Survivor props because I know those will be popular, and it was a cohesive set. Modern day stuff, it's so varied though that I think it would be better to maybe focus on like making a scene out of some of the props that we've seen from that we have available from some of the talented artists on Sketchfab. Like making a complete scene, that might be a good way to do that. Because otherwise, you're just going to be like all over the place. But I think the medieval theme is a very strong one to pursue because it's easy to fill up the content.
I
And
wish
it's easy for you guys to make stuff that looks good, I think.
I really wish sci-fi was a good genre, but that's all over the place too. Because it's like, what's sci-fi? Is it Buck Rogers sci-fi? Is it Star Wars sci-fi? Is it Star Trek sci-fi? And what's Star Trek sci-fi? And it's like there's a lot of sci-fi styles. So
Yeah, I
that's
love like I love like futuristic sci-fi and cyberpunk themes, but once you go in that direction, the styles and the themes are just all over the place.
I'm the
There's absolutely no consistency between artists at
yeah,
all.
yeah, like I like the retrofuturistic stuff and I like the Buck Rogers stuff, but I don't like the modern sci-fi stuff as much.
Hmm. Yeah, I love like Cyberpunk 2077 is one of my favorite games, and a lot of that is because of the art style. It's like it's like grounded in realism, but futuristic. But I mean, good luck finding content like that. It's just all over the place. Uh,
Right, but I was just talking about like if we had like like if you want like a spaceship and you wanted to make a game where you fight aliens, or something like kind of like that. But you have to like ask yourself, is it Buck Rogers? Is it Star
yeah,
Wars? Or is it Star Trek?
as far as like uploading stuff like that, I'm probably gonna stay away from that because it's just
Yeah.
absolutely no
Unless it,
consistency at all.
unless one artist comes in and just makes everything in one style and
And they're not
uploads
going to
it.
do that, and so they're certainly not going to do that for free. Whereas we can get medieval props or modern day props in some cases from different artists with some degree of consistency, and then if you have problems, you just apply some desaturation
Maybe
and it's magic. Everything fits together.
maybe Western will actually work too.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, that's something else I'll keep a lookout for. Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you want to make a game, you should have at least the knowledge to do the artwork for yourself. Not everything, but yeah, I mean, making a game without having any experience in modeling or texturing or something, then either you need someone for it or you need to find some assets. And if you don't have money for buying assets, then you need to get what you can get. And of course,
Well,
you
I
will
think
end up with a variety of art styles in your scene, and the game will not look good. So you
well, I
can't
think
expect that you can make a AAA game without money or without any team or without any
Mm,
experience.
I
It's just simply
I
not
disagree
working.
with that because I mean this scene was made by this was like 6 different artists here, and
Yeah, but you have five props in the scene or something.
yeah, but I mean
You know what I
this
mean?
looks pretty good. This looks about the same as like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Yeah, but you need to build a town, you need to build houses, you need to build a marketplace, for example, and then you need to have assets for this as well.
Yeah,
So,
but
Well,
what I
I could
mean.
continue building this. I could turn this into a small game and enough that I could like get people excited about it and then start selling a small game and then get money and use it to buy more and more content or to have it made. It's enough to get the. I think there's enough stuff that you can get the ball rolling, and then you're right. Like eventually you're gonna want to like start creating all your own content. But I think this is more about kit bashing something and getting something that looks good, and then using that having a starting point. Yeah, you're not going to make a complete like huge epic game this way, but you can make a single level.
yeah. I see value in this for when we start up the game tournaments again, because you're only given like a week to do, or not a week, but like a month to do something, and if you could just make an idea within that month, or in your spare time,
Yeah,
and you just I think this stuff is more valuable for like those type of scenarios, and also like getting a minimal viable product up, so
yes,
you can get people um interested in your project without programming art, because programming art gets boring after a while.
yeah. And the medieval theme is really good because like outdoors in general is actually really good for indies. That's why I'm focusing so much on getting like trees and rocks and stuff because once you have it, you can make an you can just keep using the same. You don't need that many models for outdoor stuff because you can just keep using the same trees over and over and over and just throw them on a terrain and they look good. Add some water, and you can make a lake here, you can make a mountain there, but you're just using the same content over and over, and it looks good. So outdoors is a really easy way to make stuff that looks good, and then you just plop down like a few structures here and there, some wooden houses or a castle or something like that, and it's a pretty easy way to make things. We talked about earlier before. We I think there's like basically three kinds of levels that you can design. One is all indoors, like an underground dungeon kind of thing, and that's probably the easiest to make. The second is an outdoors, a vast sprawling outdoor scene, and I think that's the second easiest to make. If you've got all the props, all the trees and things that you need, then maybe it becomes the easiest to make something that looks good. And then the third is sort of the combination of indoors, outdoor, where it's limited in size, but it doesn't. But that those limitations are kind of hidden. And I'd say that's sort of like a Counter Strike map. Like that's probably the hardest one to make because everything's unique. But making outdoors levels, if you have all the scenery that you need, it actually becomes very easy to do and to make something that with minimal effort you can make something that looks really fantastic. Okay, so
Another good theme
what's that?
would be Middle East. Another good theme would be Middle East or Egyptian, but
Yeah, I don't know as well like what that would look like. Would be my limitation
yeah.
there. Um, okay, so I also did a little bit of research just for a couple of hours on mesh shaders, and ray tracing I'm not so excited about because we can get the same results with if we have like a hybrid static dynamic system where the indirect lighting is baked, but the direct lighting is provided using shadow maps. Um, Mesh shaders I'm more excited about. I think this is a very good area for future development. Um, so if you've seen the NVIDIA Asteroids demo from this is actually like from quite a while ago. Um, I don't think their demo did a very good job of showing it off because it was just like, oh great, they invented LODs. What this actually allows is LOD on a sub mesh basis. So if you have a very large object, like these huge rocks, like here, these are about 300,000 polygons. I was able to reduce it down to like 30, and it still looked about the same. But if you have very, very large meshes like this, it's like if you're standing on one side, then you're going to want very large, very high resolution detail, but stuff in the distance can be much lower resolution, could safely be much lower resolution. You could split it up into a bunch of different objects, but mesh shaders are probably a better way to do this. There are several processing tools. One is from Microsoft. Another is we already use in the engine. I just haven't made use of that functionality yet. There is no standard file format for this stuff. I don't know if Kronos is working on a standard file format yet. I'll ask the next time I have a meeting with that group, because I imagine like there's probably a lot of people interested, but it's such an area of new research that there isn't a standard file format for it yet. Of course, Epic's Nanite system is the most frequently used implementation of this. They're kind of early to the market, but they didn't invent this, and they didn't invent the meshlet tools. I actually found the code that I think they based their system on. So this is something I think everybody's going to have before it's going to become a standard. And in fact, there is a new OpenGL cross-vendor mesh shader extension in development right now that started in January. And this is so right now there's an NVIDIA mesh shaders extension for OpenGL, and AMD is working on a cross-vendor mesh shaders extension that's gonna be a little bit it'll probably be a little bit better support for other hardware vendors. So that's something that I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on. So again, I think this is a very promising area for future research. What is it good for? Mostly for just like photorealistic rocks. Is it good for other? Can it be used for other things? Yeah. Is it great for other things? It probably doesn't. It probably does not replace. It doesn't replace tessellation for some other purposes. Like for terrain, tessellation is really the best approach because it takes like no memory. It's just a texture, and it looks great. For building levels, like if you're sketching out a castle or something, tessellation is really good for that. You don't have to have a bunch of unique detail. You can just apply a material with displacement to a flat wall, and you magically get all of these details popping out of it. And with the tessellation tools we have, it makes it really easy to make stuff that looks really good. I have done like some little castles and stuff just during testing, and I had fantastic results with that. So I don't think it's good for everything, but for really realistic, highly detailed rocks, I think that's really the best approach. Okay, so the purpose of the integrated video system was okay. So anyways, this is stuff I expect we'll see in like LUDWorks 5.2. 5.1 is going to be the static global illumination, the baked light mapping. But the purpose of the videos system was to make the tutorials very obvious for people. I'm planning on making these simple game tutorials that are broken up into several parts. And the tutorials I'm planning on are a ball game where you're just rolling a ball around, an RPG example, and a simple first-person shooter. And I think they're going to be in this order because I think this is the order of complexity they are. So for the ball game, I looked at a lot of different ideas, and the one that I found that seemed like it would give you the most fun with the least amount of work would be kind of a combination of a racing game and a collect the coins game. And if you're just collecting coins, it's very boring because there's no like racing is just fun, especially if you're going up and down hills like this. It's just a lot more fun. And I think having coins along the way that you can collect, I think that adds a little extra challenge to it, because if there's two routes, you can take the easy route and go faster, or you can take the more difficult route and maybe you'll get some coins, maybe you'll fail at it and die. And I think coins will, like, your total score is your time that you finish in, and then if you collect a coin, like, it'll take like 1 second off your time, something like that. Um, so I think that's how the mechanics of the game are going to work out. I don't think I'm going to do multiplayer in this, because trying to show how to do multiplayer in the first video tutorial series, I think, is a little bit. I think that's too difficult for, for something that this is supposed to be the super beginner example. But that's kind of what I'm planning on there. I think this is stuff where I can just, because the artwork does not interfere with the gameplay at all. I think I can just prototype the gameplay with very simple geometry, and then go back, and once I know what meshes I need, then I can go back and have those created in the exact size they're supposed to be. Normally I don't like to do that, because animation in a lot of gameplay depends on your animated models. So in that case, it's really hard to program something without having the art first. But in this case, I think I can do the programming first and then art second. So I think it's going to be broken up, like setting up the scene, providing keyboard input just to move the ball, making the camera follow the ball, having some moving obstacles, collecting a coin mechanism, falling off the track and respawning, and then finishing the game and adding a high score table. And then multiplayer, I was going to do multiplayer for this, but I decided I think that'll be too hard. Okay, so for the second tutorial series, the RPG, I'm just starting to think about this. Should I go with a realistic style for this, or should I go with a cartoon style?
I think you should just reuse the medieval stuff, to be honest with you. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm probably quiet. I think you should go to the medieval, use the medieval
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, hold on, I'm looking for a link here. I posted a poll here. Here it is.
I think it greatly depends on what you're trying to exemplify with this.
What am I trying to?
What exactly
that's my question. Yeah.
Because I think, as a default, an RPG is a great one because it's a great genre a lot of people are getting interested in. So I think the systems are more important than the general style. If you can map out everything you want to do with that, then it should just fit in, like, which one would better fit what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, I posted a poll here, so you can add your input here. And I'm curious to see what people think. Like, I'm of two thoughts about it. Like, on one hand, it's like maybe a cartoon style would be good because it's just about focusing on the coding, and we don't want to get hung up on the artwork. Let's just focus on the game mechanics. On the other hand, I wonder if, are people going to get turned off if they see something that looks like really cartoonish and simple? Is it going to be something that's where it's like so ugly that it doesn't motivate them? It doesn't inspire them?
Well, the idea there would be stylization. It wouldn't be just, do you want it to be realistic or cartoonish? It's what kind of style do you want to invoke with the RPG element? Think of like Zelda. Because they can look at it and be like, the systems are good, yes, but I'd be turned off by the style. It's just, again, I think it's more of what you're trying to exemplify with the RPG itself. What specific systems do you want to show off? With that, games like roguelikes come into mind, like Hades. And I think this is also a really good example to show off some of your shader systems. I'm not terribly like knowledgeable on what you've done with all of them, but I've been seeing in general where you've been showing them off a bit. So I think realistic would be good to show exactly how you could use your systems for that, or a more cartoonish style, how you could do some kind of toon shaders or whatever you'd want to do there. I think it's a good opportunity to take advantage of.
Well, I think the things I want to show are player movement, and RPG is good because it's basically like the ball game, except with animation. With the instead of a rolling ball, you have an animated character. Yeah, first person shooters are a little bit harder to explain because the view model is a little bit tricky. Um, so I want to show first like character movement and the camera following the player, and I like this because it's similar to the ball game. I want to show like how to have like attacks where you're like swinging a sword and jumping and stuff. Okay, so that's another lesson. Um, I want to show the navigation pathfinding system of the enemies and like how to interact with them. So that's another tutorial. I want to show how to set up like I'll just have a simple system for dialogue to where you go up and talk to some like a villager, and they have something that they're supposed to say, and you respond to them, and they respond to you. That's pretty easy to set up. So like I would, and then an inventory system. So I would define an RPG as a third-person game in a medieval setting where you can talk to people and fight. That's not going to be everybody's definition, but that's how I would characterize. That's kind of what I want to get across.
I think the RPG is a great expansion off of the ball game, but to what you're trying to show, I think it might be better if you make it a 2D game instead, assuming that your engine supports that.
People don't come to Leadworks because they want to make a 2D game.
That's very true.
2D is that's too far. And actually, a lot of like I mean, the cartoon like the mechanics still carry over to like a AAA realistic game, but the 2D
So
would not.
I think that going from the ball game to the RPG without emphasizing the expansion onto the movement system, like jumping isn't native to the ball game, but moving is moving your camera, updating your camera to be behind the player wherever you need it to be every frame. That just bringing that over is redundant. So I think expanding on it and focusing on the weight of it is a very good thing. So in comparison to the ball game, you want for a humanoid character, you'd want to emphasize as much as possible that they have weight, they have momentum. Think of like CS:GO in their movement. It's simple, but there's weight behind it. It's thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
So expanding on it in that way might be your best bet because it's the same thing. You lose the redundancy because you're going into more depth on it and showing off exactly how you could do this.
Yeah. Okay.
What about the leveling system like an RPG would have?
Those things always annoy me. That just means there's a door that I can't unlock.
Well, it also affects player stats and like, you know,
That stuff is so
you
like
could just
it's. I don't like stuff that's like where it's like use your imagination.
right. But to me, that's like I don't. That's like something with with Cyberpunk. You had the cool, you had the body, you had um the other stuff. I can't remember anymore. But you had like those like like the stat trees. So I don't expect. So I don't. It sounds like you don't plan to like make like a system like that or a diving board for those systems.
I don't really feel like those things are critical to. Those do
All
not
right.
seem like a very critical element to me to the gameplay, and it's so simple. It's like store a variable for how many time how many chickens has the player killed with their sword. Okay, then their intelligence
Yeah, I
goes
think
up.
it's yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a variable, but there's a lot of math. I mean, with turn-based, it's a little bit more difficult, but if it's action-based, RPG is not that big of a deal. But
Yeah, it's just it seems like something like that. It's very hard to show that in the abstract. Like once you do that, you're
right,
making a game. Like you're making one specific game. So
right, and every RPG system is different. So
yeah, like an action RPG, like focusing more on the core mechanics, I think is probably the way I want to go. But again,
Yeah, what makes the
but
character, what makes the world,
what's that?
what makes the character, and what makes the world. So the NPCs inside of it, and their pathfinding, and then the character and their movement, and the camera and how the player interacts with the character.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So again, like what should the style of the scene of the actual the visuals of it be? If you go to like Polypizza, I think it's polypizza.com. They have a lot of like cartoon content. Then it'll look something like that. If I go with realistic, then it'll look like the screenshots I'm showing. Um, I'm not sure which one to do.
Is it a third-person RPG?
Yeah.
So like the Darkness Awaits top-down thing you want to do, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll even call it Darkness Awaits. Darkness Awaits.
So, are you saying where the character sets their camera, like with a mouse input, or like Magica, where it's scene based,
I don't know, like
following
like The
flow?
Witcher.
The Witcher? Okay.
I would also like particle a lot of particles in this demo, since if it's going to medieval fantasy, I would like a lot of particle templates or examples in this demo.
Yeah, and that's an easy way to make the scene just look more alive. Just have a bunch of like fires burning.
Right, because I'm not very good at particles. What I do is just take an existing particle that's close enough, and then I just adjust values and I fake it till I make it to get something I want. That's how I do particle editing.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's a poll on the forum there for this, so you can answer. You can think about it and add your input there. I'm curious to see what people have to say about that. Regarding the, and then the last one, I think the most difficult to do is a basic first-person shooter, and I think I want to. Okay, so I don't. I think I want to simplify it a bit. Without, I want to skip. I want to not use any animation or reloading in this, because once you do that, you have a lot of like timing variables and end hooks and stuff, like, because it's like you have to program it so that the player can't shoot while they're reloading, stuff like that. And once you do that, I think at that point it's easy to program. But if I make a video where I'm talking for 45 minutes about this, then at that point I think it's not really so. It's not about like explaining everything you do. It's more about you have to choose what you're doing, and what you're doing, what you're teaching has to be conducive to being broken down in these small little steps. Because if you have something that goes on for too long and gets too detailed and can't be broken down into small steps, then I feel like you kind of lose the. I feel like I'll lose the audience. Like if I go through, like we have this right now with the existing first person player controller, but if I feel like if I go through that line by line, it'll take forever for me to record that video, and two, like it'll be too detailed for people to really understand. So I'm kind of planning on having like a weapon that just has programming like the weapon sway and everything, and the shooting animation is just done with code. So like when you shoot, it just makes the gun jump back a little bit, and there's no reloading, so you don't have to worry about some of the intricacies of that, because again, I just want to like get the main points across to the player. Definitely more of a cartoonish style for that, probably.
I think this should be your arena shooter. You should go over like just player movement, and this is where multiplayer should come in.
Yeah, and then the
because it sounds like Unreal Tournament to me, where there's no reloading or anything.
yeah, like a lot of those arena shooters, or I mean, I guess all the early first person games were like that. All the first FPS games, but and then I guess like multiplayer would be sort of
what makes it hard.
That would be the very last lesson of that, and that would be considered sort of the sort of advanced one. But getting like an arena shooter, now you would call it a battle royale, but
a boomer shooter.
Being able to set that up, that's kind of the point that I want to get across. I don't want to make a 45-minute video about how to make sure that the player doesn't shoot while they're in the middle of a reload animation.
Right.
Yeah, because again, that's not a core concept.
Well, it's not. It's about trying to you're trying to break things down into simple concepts that you can get across in a 15-minute video.
It's supposed to be an example instead of a full breakdown.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm not trying to make the best game, and I'm not necessarily developing things the way that I would do them if I was making a game. It's primarily it's supposed to be easy to understand above all else.
Right. And I think if people want to go in depth about a first-person shooter mechanics, they have the FPS demo. I think the value of this example would be multiplayer, most likely.
Yeah, if I can get across how to make a simple Robloxy first-person shooter and have multiplayer, then I think that's very valuable for people, because that can be applied in a very wide variety of options.
Right. And if they want to make something like Stalker or whatever, they can just look at the FPS demo and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's sort of the more advanced functionality that I'm not gonna. That's more me showing off. I'm not gonna go through it line by line and explain everything to you.
Right. But an example is still out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think right now we don't have a lot of reference code and examples. We just have quick demos to show how a function works, but not really how to do something
Yeah, it's hard for me to even understand how you can not because if you most of game development is just position and rotation. And if you understand those concepts, then it's hard for me to understand how you could not automatically know how to make every single kind of game out there.
A lot of game programmers aren't engine developers, so you when you do game programming, it's a walk in the park, because it's don't have to worry about half the things. I just have to position, rotate things, and I just have to do simple math. But for me, simple math is hard math. Occlusion math or whatever I need to do. Dealing with matrices and quadrations, that's a little bit difficult for me sometimes. But for you, it's simple, because you have to do that plus everything else. So when you go to game programming, everything's really, really, really easy. But not everyone is making engines.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking for the tutorials. I mean, the goal is to give people something they can chew on, people that are complete beginners. I want to be able to get them up to a fairly advanced level, and give them all the tools and enough art content that they can get started at least and make something that looks good. And
a lot of diving board code, so they can.
Yeah. So any questions or comments about all of that stuff?
Well, the download
To me, that's all good.
What's that?
Well, the diamonds.
Somebody said something?
Yeah, that all looks good to me so far.
Okay.
I think you're covering a lot of grounds.
Yeah. Well,
I think the one important thing, though, would be to write down the things you want to do with the shooter. Because to me, it seems like the big things are doing first person compared to third person, figuring out ray casting and how you'd want to set up the gun to actually work, and then multiplayer. And I don't know how you're going to do multiplayer, but I think it'd also be a good idea to add some resources, maybe just in the description of the video, on how to hook it up with Steam DXL.
I'm planning on, so for the multiplayer, Steam peer-to-peer networking is the best way to do that. One issue is if you're doing multiplayer with that, I don't know any other way to handle it other than having two computers set up. And if you're doing that, you need some method to synchronize the code back and forth very quickly. So right away, that's a pretty high.
Yeah, that immediately jumps up the difficulty.
Yeah. Is there an alternative to that? Can I make a simulated fallback for where it takes the Steam peer-to-peer networking system commands and it runs and it allows you to run two instances of the application on a single computer. Is that possible?
I'm sure it is. I'd have to do some research into it. I'm pretty confident
Well,
that's what Roblox does, actually.
that's what Roblox does?
Yeah,
Really? Huh, that's interesting.
yeah, in their editor.
Okay, so, well, I mean, that was kind of a redundant. I mean, what's the question that you what is it when you ask a question but you don't actually expect an answer?
You
Uh,
rhetorical question.
yeah.
Rhetorical question? Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean,
But you
of
actually
course
got an
it's
answer.
possible. It's more just like, is it a good idea?
Mm,
I,
I
I
don't
think
think
it's
for this video, no. But maybe somewhere else for some other reason, yes. But I don't think there'd be a reason to, other than just
I
providing basics on
Well,
where to
if
start
I
looking.
did that, then I could make the whole tutorial wouldn't be like, here's how to set up Dropbox, or even worse, like SVN or something. The whole tutorial would be able to be something that people could execute on their own compute on a single computer.
Mhm.
I think that should just be a feature of the engine slash the Steamworks integration
I don't
where
disagree.
any multiplayer game can just run two instances to test multiplayer code, because that's really a hurdle when testing multiplayer. Is my networking code correct? Is the client seeing what the server's seeing, but vice versa? And just making that a feature of your networking code would be one, you don't have to explain for your tutorials because it'll just work, and two, everyone will have it.
Okay, so how hard would that be to do, and how reliable? Would there be a bunch of weird things that come up in the future where, like, oh, there's this thing in Steam you want to use, but you can't because you're not really using Steam? Would it be more trouble than it's worth, basically? That's something to I don't know that's not a
Well,
rhetorical question. That's something I don't know the answer to, but
I'm pretty. There has to be something in the Steamworks API where you can simulate a connection. Um,
you could do it just I
I
mean we have some alternative. We have the eNet networking code which came back because I needed it for the Lua debugger. We could, like, if you create a lobby, it could just write a file to your hard drive saying these are the lobbies that are available on this machine.
right, right. So Enet is back with the client and server classes and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Interesting.
because I need it. I mean, it's not going to be useful for real networking because everybody, unless you're not behind a router, which everybody has a
Well,
router nowadays, so that makes it pretty useless.
well, I was working on a remote console a while back, but I had to throw it away because you removed Enet. But now I can actually
Oh,
do
it's
something
still
like
up.
that
I
if
think
I
I
feel.
uploaded that code in the programming
You
forum.
uploaded it, but you had to like integrate Enet back into the engine, and I tried, and it was an absolute failure, and I just gave
Yeah.
up.
Um, yeah, like I definitely, like, for any multiplayer games, do you definitely want to use the Steam peer-to-peer networking system because it doesn't require you to maintain a server. And every single time I've seen an indie set up a server for their game, it's always gone like a week later or a month later. And then you want to play the game,
Right,
then it's not available. But if with the Steam peer-to-peer networking system, it's you've got all the benefits of a dedicated server without any of the drawbacks, basically. Most of the benefits.
right.
Also a lot less time commitment.
Yeah.
So it looks like you got some research to, because that would actually be a benefit for not only for the engine users, but for your tutorials.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just an idea right now. It's something to think about. I'll have to think about it a little bit more.
Right.
Okay, so Leadworks 5 Steam store page. Some of my most wasteful times are when I'm programming the most, when I'm working the hardest, because what happens is you get very focused on details of something, and then you spend a lot of time on something, and you miss, like, really obvious things that you would have realized if you had not been working so hard. So yeah, like when you're working extremely hard, that can be one of the biggest time wasters. And I think this only occurred to me last week because I had a little bit of a break. We're in a little bit of a um, an odd time right now because we're AMD. I expect AMD will release their new drivers later this month probably, and I don't want to put 099 over to the stable branch and release that until their driver is updated because it's almost here. I have the beta drivers on my machine and they work great. Um, but it occurred to so we have a problem right now. The problem is I only put the Ultra Steam store page, the Ultra Engine Steam store page up like a day or two before releasing it. And so it only has about 1,200 wish list ads, whereas the Leadworks 4 Steam store page has App ID has a much larger number of wish list ads, and so the Steam system keeps recommending Leadworks 4 over Ultra Engine, even though Ultra Engine sells better. That doesn't matter. Like the Steam store page, the Steam algorithm really likes the Leadworks 4 App ID, just because it has so many wish list ads. And something that occurred to me is like, wait a minute. What would happen if I just if the Leadworks if the Ultra Engine App ID got like 1,000 wish list ads in like the first day? Why don't I just put a new Steam store page up for Leadworks 5 and just let it sit? How many wish list ads would it have after a month? I don't know. Would it have more than Leadworks 4? Would it have more than Ultra Engine? Definitely. Would it have more than Leadworks 4? Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like if you get them all at once in the first 24 hours and then it's like disappears, or if it's something where it just gathers more and more over time. With ours, I suspect it would just gather more and more over time to some extent because we have, we always have a certain amount of activity in our community. So I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, because I could have done this like 3 months ago. Because like the problem is right now the ranking of Ultra Engine in the Steam store is not good because of that metric, and that will never get bad. That will never get better. So effectively, like the Ultra Engine Steam store page is kind of like, it's not exactly shadow banned, but it's basically shadow banned. And it would be so easy. That problem could have been avoided so easily if I had just put the Steam store page up like a year in advance. Well, okay, that's done, but now we're here. What if I just put a Steam store page up for Leadworks 5 and just kept that until the full release? And if you bought Ultra on Steam or on our website, you'll just automatically be converted over to Leadworks 5 when it goes out. So don't worry you don't have to buy anything new. But this could be a solution. This might be something that would be worth doing. And if I do this, then I think my goal would just be to have the best screenshots possible available, ready to go when that store page goes up, put it up, and then just see what the result is. But that could be a simple solution to the problem.
Works for me.
It's that time.
And just delist, and then just delist Ultra Engine stuff, and just have one Leadworks 5 page.
Yep. So, want to give a shout out to everybody who's recently given us a thumbs up on Steam. That includes T-Ticky, Drogowit, The Cuzzy, Capcrunch, Metal OS, Agnologia, Knievels, Ricochet, Andy, Gashish Master, Marcy 3D, Gamer, Sarus, Mazel, Timmy, You, Playsa, Gravitate Games, Lily Bite, Wreckage, Techno Fox, Casmic, Doctor Who 3DGX, JD Gaming, Reet Blue, Anthony Python, ZZX 1888, Edelentric, Merrick IJC, Kent, Old Amsterdam, Drake Black, Merrick, Project Mayhem, Bedrito, James W. Harden, Troyinator, Altitude, Lucky Luke, Slick 29, Gavaris 3, Waxy, Renhot, Coneo, Tuerto, Jessica 07, and Almas X. Thank you all for your support.
For today.
I'm not going to try to do it in one breath anymore. I almost needed.
That was impressive.
I almost needed 3 for that. I got like last week. I tried to do it in one breath, and I got to Drake Black. Where's he? I got that far, but no further. The line stops here. No further.
Yeah.
No man shall pass.
So are you gonna rename the Leverix 4 ID just Leverix 4, and then
I don't know.
I think that'd be best to avoid confusion.
Yeah. Let's see if a new Steam store page. Let's see if it gets more wish list ads than Leadworks 4 did.
Well,
That could be
well,
that could be such a simple solution.
and if Valve complains, like technically Ultra Engine and Leverix 5 are like yes, it's like the same thing, but now they're like different. They have different markets, different strategies. You know, Leverix 5 is going back to like what made Leverix 4 memorable. You know,
I'm just
and
adding a
technically
little.
different
I'm just
product.
adding a little layer on top that makes things a little bit more friendly to beginners because I think those people are very important.
Right. But you change like the theme in the like it just feels like a different product than what it was. Now.
It's not.
Like, it
It's.
was
I
under
mean, the differences
it's
are very
not,
superficial.
but it feels like it. It feels like it though.
I guess that's good.
It's just so. Again, it's like I don't know.
Anyway, so that's all I've got this week. Do we have any questions before I stop the video?
I have a quick question
Mm-hmm.
about space, sound spatialization in VR. Is the listener already active in the HMD, or do I have to make one?
It's probably. I'm not sure. You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure, but like I should have made it. I should have made it automatic because there's no situation in which you wouldn't want that to be the case.
Right, because I was experimenting with it was like late Sunday evening, and I added sounds to when you teleport around, but when I put the controller to my right, this sound spatialization seemed weird. I would have to write you a bug report example
You don't even have to make
script or
for something
whatever.
that simple. You don't even have to make an example for it. I just need to look at the code and see. Oh, is that something that I did?
Right, it just feels like the sound spatialization. I didn't do fully testing. I just made teleport sounds, and
Yeah.
I made the teleport sound come out of the left controller, and then but it was
Maybe
like
maybe
it
it's
didn't
just
like
something I forgot to do. I mean, it's easy to just create a pivot there and make that the listener, but
yes.
it should be that can be something that I just do automatically.
Also, yes. Also, is there a way I can just parent something to the head? Like if you could just make a
Yeah,
pivot
the headset
and
has a model associated with it, and so if you get the model, then that's an entity that you can parent things to.
okay, I'll double check that because right now I have a model because I have a fader. It's not good yet because it's just an inverted sphere that fades when you go into the walls or anything. There is a
Oh, my bad.
oh you
Actually,
have to
you want to use attach for that. You want to attach it to the
okay.
VR device. The mechanism for
All
that
right,
is a little bit different because the VR devices their orientation doesn't get updated until the very last possible moment before rendering.
okay, so I want to use attached instead of parent. Okay. All right. I'll
So.
double
I
check
think
my
so.
code.
Yeah.
I could try it. Right now I have the sphere model being updated every frame, which is not that great. And then I have a weapon model. I'm using parent, but it's kind of floaty. So I don't want. So I might look into attach for that.
Yeah, and it'll
So
follow your controllers and your headset like exactly. Like you can use it to like add like a mask or like glasses to your headset, and it'll be like perfectly exact.
okay, I'll definitely look into that. yeah, the only thing I have to do is like fix my fader because I have a sphere around my
What's a
head,
fader?
and there is so like I need so when you teleport or or you stick your head into the wall, the screen will get
Oh,
dark.
okay, okay.
Or when you teleport, there's the blinking to prevent motion sickness.
Yeah, that's a
So
that's a good mechanic.
what I did is that I just inverted the sphere, but when you get close to a wall, you see part of the wall because the sphere can only be so small, or else
Hmm.
it just collapses on itself. So you need it to be big enough where it captures the entire field of view. But if but no matter how small it is, if you stick your head into a wall, you're gonna see part of that wall bleed through the sphere.
Hmm.
My only like solution to that is to make a decal and just parent that to the sphere model.
Hmm.
So when you stick your head through the wall, that you then see the decal, and it looks like you don't see that little circle of the wall,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, but yeah, thank you for that information. I'll definitely look at entity attach. I haven't really used that function yet, so well, I've been using set parent. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. Either
keep me
I
posted about
imagine.
that.
Hmm, yeah, I think the
No, go ahead.
attachment
I'm sorry.
command will work better.
All right, and then just keep me posted about the sound.
Yeah, I'll take a look. Okay. Do we have any other questions about any of that stuff? All right, I'm gonna stop the video here. Um,